This is the Orioles POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Baltimore Orioles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
O's win and O's sweep. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Sunday here on the Locked On Orioles postcast. My name is Luke Slaybaugh, and today, this afternoon at 4 o'clock on the dot, we're talking about this Baltimore Orioles win over the Chicago White Sox, 3-2 the final score. The Orioles start June with a win. Now, I know some people in the comment section yesterday and commenting on social media have mentioned that this series against the White Sox could be fool's gold. A sweep, 3-game wins in a row might not mean much in the grand scheme of things, going up against a clear rebuilding team with a severe talent shortage and gap compared to the roster that Mike Elias has constructed here in Baltimore. However, it's better than the alternative, right? The O's start June with the win and a series sweep over the visiting Chicago White Sox. They are now 14 games under 500, earned their first series sweep of this season. We can all say a big thank you to our locked-on player of the game, right-hander Charlie Morton.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
It's heartwarming to see the appreciation and the warm reception that the Camden Yards crowds have given right-hander Charlie Morton these last two outings. He has shoved. He has turned the narrative and flipped the script completely from what was a horrendous April. We had mentioned on the show yesterday that Morton posted a 3.98 ERA in the month of May. However, there were only 2 starts involved in 4 long relief outings. This second consecutive quality outing is the best Charlie Morton we've seen all year and outdoing what was previously his best showing. The 41-year-old continues to impress. 6 2/3 innings pitched, only 1 run given up unearned, 6 hits, 1 walk, and 7 strikeouts. The ERA for the month of June, a pristine 0.000. The best part about this, and even with Dean Kramer yesterday, is that Charlie pitched well with traffic. He had base runners in every inning, except for that truncated top of the 7th, where he only pitched 2/3 innings. He left the White Sox 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position. But being able to get back on track and not let mistakes compound has been the bread and butter for Orioles pitchers the last week or so. Really, the last 2 turns through the rotation, there's only been 1 or 2 sad outings. Occasional blips in command. I think of the second inning, he walked Luis Robert, not a great plate discipline guy, just an uncompetitive at-bat for Charlie. But he strikes out catcher Edgar Caro to end the inning on a curveball. So no harm, no foul. Charlie Morton is giving his all. And I think back to the Memorial Day game that I was at and interacted with some of you all after the game, and some people had mentioned that this is a gamer and a professional through and through. Charlie Morton could have packed his bags at the end of April, said, hey, I don't got it. He could have refused his assignment to the bullpen. He could have asked to be released. He could have tried to start over again with another team. However, he honored his commitment. He wanted to continue to be a mentor and a positive influence on the pitchers in the Baltimore Orioles clubhouse. And who knows where this season goes? If this team gets back on track and just continues to play winning baseball and eke out wins like this, no matter the competition level they go up against, Charlie Morton may be a valuable contributor down the stretch. We now talk about the top of this Baltimore Orioles lineup. We had taken issues with the lineup construction in weeks past. Adley Rutschman given the day off, so he was not hitting in the 2-hole. And frankly, this Orioles team hits a little bit better when you have either Ramon Urias or Gunnar Henderson hitting 2 or 3. And that's what we'll talk about, particularly the turning point of this game. We go to the bottom of the 3rd for today's turning point.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
Anytime you can put up a crooked number, the game momentum shifts drastically. And we saw that bottom of the 3rd up against right-hander Adrian Hauser, who had yet to lose a game in a White Sox uniform and pitched a pretty solid quality game himself. Hat tip to him, the Oklahoma native. Maverick Hanley leads off, pulls a slider from Hauser to left field to Andrew Benintendi, and it's a single. Jackson Holiday then pounces on the next pitch, a changeup, a double to right field. So you got runners at second and third. The much maligned RISP that the Orioles have had struggled with through most of this season. So Ramon Urias up, no outs, 2 runners in scoring position. 0-1 count, gets a sinker in on the hands and bloops a hit to center field. Handley scores. Holiday holds up, not wanting to test the arm of Robert. He later advances, and with 1 out, Ryan O'Hearn hits a sac fly to left field, making it a 2-0 ball game. And that was really the difference maker as the O's go on to win this game 3-2. There's a lot we want to talk about today about the trajectory of this team, where it stands today on June 1st, and some of the context behind how interim manager Tony Mansolino's team has played. The revolution will not be televised. However, Dylan Carlson's resurgence will. He ended out May very hot, and he continued to contribute today on both sides of the ball. We're going to talk about that as well. And given how fast this episode is flying, we'll dive into the comment section a little bit as well and see what you all have to say about the O's, who, for the second time in 8 games, have ridden a 3-game win streak. Things are going all right. Stick with us here on the Locked On Podcast Network. This show brought to you by wonderful Pistachios. It's delicious and nutritious, and it's a good source of protein. I see these every day when I walk to the store, casually ambling around Whole Foods, and it's one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1-ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, which is over 10% of the recommended daily value. They're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to keep you feeling fuller for longer. Personally, no shells is where it's at. If you like the satisfying crunch of these wonderful pistachios, dig in. They're great to grab and go. They're great for errands. They're great for when you need something but you don't want a full meal. It's a great snack. So get snacking, get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. We're flying today. What are we talking about? Well, this Baltimore Orioles team is 14 games under 500, which isn't great. However, is the worst over?
This is what you'll be talking about.
As of going live in this episode, the Orioles sit 5.5 games behind the Boston Red Sox in the American League East Division. 8.5 behind Tampa Bay and Toronto. Those games ongoing right now. What's interesting is that the Orioles won their game to start the season, the March-April calendar month, teeing off on the Toronto Blue Jays, hitting 6 home runs in that win. They won their first game in May, shutting out the Kansas City Royals, and they also opened up June with a win over the Chicago White Sox. And to flip the Shakespeare phrase, all's well that begins well. We turn the calendar to June. And there are great opportunities in this month to play competitive baseball and make a statement. We talked at length yesterday about how the playoff odds are close to 0. 1.9% today going into this game via FanGraphs. However, as we take a deep dive, this team has made a turn for the better since the firing of manager Brandon Hyde and is starting to find its stride. The O's are 7-8 under Tony Mansolino, with the result of this game going final. In games decided by 1 run, the O's have won 3 consecutive games. They started out 0-2 in 1-run games under Tony Mansolino, and you might recall the straw that broke the camel's back for Brandon Hyde, that 4-3 loss to Washington on Friday night, 1-run ball game. In the last 8 games, the Baltimore Orioles have had 2 3-game win streaks, and competitively so. They took 1 against the Cardinals, and prior to that, 2 against Boston, and now a 3-game sweep over the Chicago White Sox. We're going to do something a little bit unconventional here and pull up the June schedule. Please forgive that this was taken in the top of the 8th inning, but that result does hold. The O's beat the Chicago White Sox 3-2. If you're watching here on YouTube, these are always live. Thank you. If you're watching on the replay, leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of the game, what you think of the show. If you're listening in your car day after, late at night, want to fill in the gaps here, hi, my name's Luke. I'm your friend. Would love to hear your feedback as well. Comments, ratings, reviews, thumbs up, 5 stars. We'll take it all. The O's are about to head out on a West Coast trip for 6 games. 3 at Seattle, who are playing right around 500 ball right now. They've won 4 of their last 10. The Athletics are in free fall out in Sacramento. They're 1-9 in their last 10 games and riding a 5-game losing streak as of the recording of this episode. Going to be honest, that home series against Detroit's going to be difficult. They are packing a punch harder than wonderful Pistachios. Angels could be a great way to get back in it, but then the end of this month, you have 10 AL East divisional games. 7 of them are on the road. And you got a chance to beat up on Tampa down at the spring training facility, Steinbrenner Field, and going up to the Bronx is going to be a challenge, but plenty of opportunities to get back in this divisional race, or at least be competitive in the grander American League playoff picture. The Rangers are also not playing consistent baseball. They come to Camden, and then the O's end the month starting a field trip down in Arlington. Road trip, field trip, you know what it is. That's what I'm saying. So you got 10 division games at the end of the month, and it's been hard to gain some ground because leapfrogging teams in the division, when you've buried yourself 14, 15 games under 500, there's a lot of conditions. And with fewer division games than there used to be in the traditional scheduling setup, you got to savor these. These are what you play for. We've already seen the O's play competitive ball, not at their best against the Yankees at the end of April. So that's something. I'm dealing in reality here. The prospects of turning this season into some Hollywood narrative is very small. However, to get back on track and finish the season playing winning baseball, it's within reach. And you're starting to see the signs and the moves that back this up. John Mabry, now in the dugout with the club. Undefeated in the John Mabry era, right? Zach Eflin turning things around in his last start, the right-hander going 7 scoreless. Charlie Morton turning things around. Dean Kramer heating up. Trevor Rogers somehow still in Norfolk, but could be a great left-handed complement to this rotation, which we've opined is too right-handed. You'd like to see more consistency out of a 25-year-old Cade Povich. He's not even had a full, 33, 32 starts in the big leagues yet this season. So it's all conditional. It's all flimsy. It's not a concrete, this team's going on a tear. However, this is, these are good signs. Dylan Carlson is going through a renaissance. He drove in a much-needed insurance run in the bottom of the 6th. 1 out, Kobe Mayo's on first. Dylan gets a splitter on the outside part of the plate. He splits the right center field gap. Mayo scores from first. The relay throw is dropped, I believe, by Lenine Sosa, or the cutoff man out there in shallow right center field. So it's 3-1 on the RBI double by Dylan Carlson. That run would prove to be critical. Dylan Carlson got a bad rap from O's fans and the media because he started out ice cold, 0 for 19. However, when Dylan got consistent at-bats, he started to show his upside and potential. We've done whole segments on Dylan. He got the short end of the stick in St. Louis. He was often injured, never really saw all his tools bloom and come to life. There were mumblings and rumors that the Cardinals were trying to put together this huge trade package for Juan Soto back in 2022. Yes, 2022. Eventually going to the Padres. And the narrative at the time was outgoing president of baseball ops, John Mozeliak, was really possessive and jealous and holding on to his blue chip prospects or young players that he believed had upside potential, including Dylan Carlson, also Jordan Walker, Nolan Gorman, guys that we just saw in the series prior against the Cardinals. And in retrospect, that seems like a terrible idea, given the way that Dylan hasn't lived up to the hype of a first-round draft pick. 17 years old coming out of high school, and he was rushed to the big leagues. Dylan Carlson hit 286 in May for the Baltimore Orioles and slugged 514. That's good for an OPS of 838, which is well above league average. A lot of Orioles fans felt pain and were dreading the injury news about Ramon Laureano when he caught his ankle going for a fly ball in the Milwaukee series. And you can make the argument that Dylan filled in seamlessly after the fact. We saw him make a really good play in the top of the sixth with a runner on first, Joshua Palacios at first. Luis Robert hits a line drive to left field. It's cutting, it's sinking, and Dylan slides and makes a great catch, pops up, and floats the ball back to Jackson Holliday, trying to double off Palacios at first base. Throw wasn't quite on the money, was soft. Jackson Holliday couldn't corral it. You could argue that if he had caught it, they could have doubled off Palacios. He ends up scoring in that inning, made it a 3-2 ball game, and we had mentioned the unearned run given up by Charlie Morton. That is because of how that runner got on base in the first place. Palacio reached, hitting a ground ball to second baseman Jackson Holliday, went through the wickets. Holliday tried to backhand it and came up on the ball too early. You just got to squat. You got to sit down more. And excuse me, no, Palacios didn't score. It was the runner that was on prior to him, Andrew Benintendi, who had singled to lead off the inning. Mea culpa. Dylan Carlson is 26 years old, and he might not have entered his prime just yet. He's a free agent after next season. Generally speaking, the prime of a major league hitter, sometimes pitchers, in the 27 to 32, 33 age range. And of course, that varies. It's not a hard and fast rule. We've seen people like Paul Goldschmidt have MVP seasons once they hit 34, 35. It's all relative. However, this is something you would like to see out of a fourth, fifth outfielder. And Dylan Carlson is rising to the occasion when everyone is injured. He may make the case to stay up over Heston Kjerstad once Colton Cowser comes back from injury. And to be honest, the versatility and the defensive value that Carlson brings, it's making a better case than what Kjerstad's doing out there in right. He dropped another ball today, kind of near the warning track, near the wall, actually. You could make the argument now he's batting 186. Heston might have a case of the yips. 185 now. Hit a triple, really good extending 2 bases into 3, and then gets picked off on the next batter. He may need some mentoring down there in Norfolk. Moving on. The O's have an off day Monday, and they're back at it Tuesday at Seattle. It's a 9:40 Eastern time first pitch on MASN to right-hander Tomoyuki Sagano. Looks to continue his strong rookie campaign and his start to the year. In the Birds uniform, he's going up against right-hander George Kirby. Kirby is 0-2 this season with an 11.40 ERA. And that's all I got to say. Leah Smith comments, "You the bomb. So are you. Thank you." Milo Copeland, a frequent commenter on YouTube, says, "This team does well in division, and I hope we're the reason why somebody doesn't make it." Oh my goodness. Nick Ferreira is right. Nick Ferreira mentioned that we did have a rule on this show that when the O's win 3 or more in a row, the floppy hat goes on. Mea culpa. There is a Kevin Brown commenting in this chat. I don't believe it is the Kevin Brown, but he echoes what a lot of you all say. It is good to see Charlie Morton et al. Go deeper into games. Milo Copeland also commented that it was hat time, and he was correct. Nick Ferreira's got his flappy hat on. That's exciting. And David Owen comments, "We got to take this game by game." As a reminder for those of you who might be watching for the first time, just stumbled upon this on YouTube, I want to say hello. My name is Luke Slaybaugh. This is the post-game show known as the POSTCAST on the Locked On Orioles podcast. Complimentary bonus content fills in the gap between the daily Locked On Orioles show hosted by Connor. That's 5 days a week. And sometimes we take this 116 days in a row. We want to go back and look at this June schedule one last time. That's a 16-game stretch there, June 10th through the 25th, barring any rainouts or postponements or anything of that nature. So that's something to look forward to. I appreciate you all tuning in here on this Sunday afternoon. A lot of fun things happening right now out here in the DMV, and I'm happy to share these moments with you. Final score today, the Baltimore Orioles 3 and the Chicago White Sox 2. So good night, stay safe, and I'll see you right back here on Tuesday.